Hello and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. And I'm all the time saying that. So I'd like to start with, this is the one thing. This is a story that I really, really like. I like it in part because it's so well written and told. Walter D. Edmonds is a writer that I've read half a dozen or more of his books, and always been impressed by his writing and what he writes about. And this is a couple who is living in the northwest part of New York. They're a young couple. They've just moved there. They built a little tiny cabin, and they realized how important it would be to them if they had a horse. Well, they're not the only ones that have moved in recently into this area. There's a little community developing, and they're all in that same boat, really. They have to clear land. They've got a lot of work to do. And so it's quite a story, uplifting story. Thinking about this land that they've gone to. That's the land just north of the Erie Canal. And that reminded me of the Erie Canal by Peter Spear. And when looking at Peter Spear some long time ago, I showed this book to you. And so, oh yeah, hey. And I show it to you again. There are a team of two mules that are towing this barge on the canal. So, and it's sometimes unpleasant towing. And of course there's winter when this is all frozen, so there's some questions that come up. Here's a picture, and as far as I can make out, all of these barges are being towed by mules. There are horses here, because you've got to, and horses over here, lots of little details that Peter Spear puts in there. And I think, as I looked through it, that I could see two instances where it was a team of horses. Now, of course, the song has Sal, who's a mule. And that reminded me of a story about the Erie Canal. And it's called Chad Hannah. And it's by Walter D. Edmonds. And there's Chad. And there's a horse towing a canal boat. Well, this story is on that list of great adventures and neat storytelling and neat history. Walter D. Edmonds did tremendous research, and but the storytelling, that's you don't find that in research books. You get ideas there, things you can, but it's got to come from the old noggin. Well, this book reminded me that if you have a mule, a horse, you have to feed them. And that reminded me of a poem. The poem's in this book called The Green Place, Modern Poems. People from about 1900 on up. Compiled by William J. Smith, a poet, a novelist, professor, and obviously a compiler of poetry. There's a poem in here called Joe Pyeweed, but the poem I wanted to let you know about is one called Hay for the Horses. It's by Gary Snyder, and it takes place in enough modern time in that he was driving a truck loaded with a truckload of hay, and that reminded me of this book. It's an eyewitness book. This one's by Ned Halley. It could be Holly. It could be Halley. And it covers all kinds of things. The rearing of various livestock, the work of plowing, sowing, and harvesting. And the eyewitness books are many, many. And an English company published them, and a New York publisher got rights to be able to republish in North America. And there's one other person that I think deserves special acknowledgement. His name is Jeff Breitling, and he did the photography. And it's just presented so almost magically. Lots of use of wood in some of the old tools and things. And in England, of course, they have a lot of material to choose from. And there's sheep farming and cattle farming and milk products and barns and buildings and truck farms and fruit farming and farming with animals. And then there's this. This is a model that somebody at some point made of a wind-powered gristmill. And the miller lived in the bottom 2 floors, and he had access to this so that he could get to the parts of the windmill there. I just wanted to share something to you. Inside the top cup, a system of gears transfers the horizontal turning of the sail shaft to one or more millstones below. So there's these gears, and this one is even more interesting. The fantail operates the mechanism that revolves the whole top cap of the windmill to always face the wind. Ooh. Wouldn't that be neat on those solar things? That'd be just a little simple gears. Of course, it's the wind that powers it in this case. And what would have to power it? I guess some sort of a sophisticated tracking system, and I think they have that. Early windmills were powered by cloth-covered sails. After the 1780s, now that would make it 240 years ago, these were replaced by sails with hinged shutters that self-adjusted according to wind strength. Whoa. Now, when I went to this book, the first thing I really was looking for was a tractor. I wanted to see if it had a tractor, a Ferguson tractor, because that's what Ted Hughes had said. It had sort of put the kibosh on the famous work teams. And, that tractor. Now, alas, did not show a Ferguson tractor. Now, this is made in England, so that's too bad. But thinking about tractors led me to remember this book has a poem in it about a tractor. And I'd like to share it with you because when I first read it, I said, oh, I like this poem. Dillon on a Tractor, it's called, by R.S. Thomas. Ah, you should see Dillon on a tractor. Gone the old look that yoked him to the soil. He's a new man now, part of the machine. His nerves of metal and his blood oil. The clutch curses, but the gears obey his least bidding. And lo, he's away out of the farmyard, scattering hens, riding to work now as a great man should. He is the knight at arms, breaking the field's mirror of silence, emptying the wood of foxes and squirrels and blue jays. The sun comes over the tall trees, kindling all the hedges, but not for him who runs this engine on a different fuel. And all the birds are singing, bills wide and vain, as Dillon passes proudly up the lane. In vain, he can't hear them. The birds are singing. The sun was shining as it came up over the hedges and gave a bright look to them. Didn't notice it at all. He had become separate from the natural world. He'd become divorced from it. Couldn't connect to it. And this led me to think of some films. In fact, some of the big tractor combine things in here remind me of it too. But that there are these that are out there. They can do tons of days' work, but you're inside a cubicle. You don't hear the noise, really. You've got air conditioning. You can have your own musical selections and stop when you need to eat, or even keep driving and eat, and not have any animals to take care of, not to devote any of your land to feeding the animals. That reminded me of Leo Marx. He wrote a book called The Machine in the Garden. It's a number of essays based on technology, and technology coming and changing things, and this pastoral, in a sense, paradise. The early settlers, when they came, the forest, the bird life, I mean, passenger pigeons, for example, the bird life, the animal life, it was like paradise. And slowly technology and man started to change the look of things and the feel of things. And one of the early instigators was the coming of the train. And now that's not to say the train didn't provide some useful things. It's just saying that there was now this shift in things. And it's fascinating. I learned that Leo Marx ended up his career as a professor teaching at MIT, which is Massachusetts Institute of Technology, I'm sure that the things that he was talking about with classes that took from him, of mainly assuming scientific people, math people, that doesn't rule out that they can't also be literature people and all, but it must have found he helped maybe give a fuller picture of technology. Maybe it's not necessarily the be-all and end-all. It's important. Well, what do I know? Really, Dune Boy. That reminded me of Dune Boy. I mentioned the train could be a good thing, and there's a train in here. It's called the Strawberry Train. Now, Edwin Way Teal, who wrote many books, and I'll share some of those books with you. Growing up, first remembers going to visit his grandfather and grandmother in Indiana, near Lake Michigan, and when he was 4. But as he grew a little older, he started going there in the summer times to help his grandfather and grandmother. He helped in the fields with them. He also had time to explore outdoors, wander, various encounters with animal life and nature. So these are reminiscences, short reminiscences, 5 so pages, most of them. And the one about the train, they get up at 4 in the morning to go out and start harvesting. He and his grandpa harvesting and filling crates with strawberries. At about 4:30 or so, they have to stop. Grandpa knows exactly when they have to stop because he knows exactly when the train will arrive at a nearby station. And the train is good at sticking to its timetables. So they stop. They get in the carriage with all the crates and things with them, and the horse is sprinting to get there. Quite a neat. They're all of these little anecdotes that he remembers are fascinating, of a different time and place. And well, thanks for joining me. Until next time, bye for now.